Welcome to the Breakdown to Breakthrough podcast. My name is Lisa A. Romano. I am a life coach, best-selling author, YouTube vlogger, meditation teacher, and expert in the field of codependency and narcissistic abuse. I am a believer in the power of an organized mind. My aim is to help people learn what it means to live above the veil of consciousness rather than living a reactive life. May your heart feel blessed, your mind feel expanded, and your spirit find hope as you spend time with me here at the Breakdown to Breakthrough podcast.
I think that the greatest obstacle for man is his perception of reality. Most people are unaware that their reality is truly a reflection of the past. Most people don't really understand or want to understand that there is no such thing as separateness on any level. It's really mind-blowing when you are able to rise up out of some old consciousness and begin to truly understand that separateness is an illusion. It is a product of the material world, and this illusion is responsible for dis-ease, for codependency, for addiction, for racism, intolerance. Most people don't even want to think about that. They want to blame someone else for why they are the way they are, or they want to blame someone else for what's happened. And I get it. You know, I used to operate below the veil of consciousness myself. I didn't understand that a human being was designed to be able to construct a life that has essentially been built upon some autopilot feature. I didn't know that. That's unawareness. That's ignorance. And when you're ignorant, you don't know you're ignorant, which is why you're ignorant. And who the hell wants to admit that they are ignorant? Nobody. But if you are a seeker of truth, and you are someone who has been born to seek truth, then in spite of your ignorance, there is this little black box, sort of like the black box that is built into airplanes for the purpose of being able to find it should there be some unfortunate and catastrophic event and this airplane needs to be located. It sends off this signal, bing, 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 bing. And you know who you are. You know if you are someone who has always sought after the truth, because there's always been this little bing, bing, bing. You want to know why people do what they do, why you feel the way you feel. Who am I? Who are you? What exists outside our solar system? What is reality? What is consciousness? Who the hell is in charge? How did I become about? What is DNA? How is it possible that two can become one? How is it possible that a male sperm and a female egg meet and know what the hell to do? How can a male sperm meet a female egg and become something separate and whole from the two? A lot of people aren't asking those kinds of questions. But if you are, namaste, dear one, that's pretty damn cool. You're a cutting-edge human being. And I really hope that this message is able to help pierce through the veils of illusion that are keeping you stuck, keeping you unaware, and yes, even ignorant. So, when you get to a point in your spiritual evolution, your conscious evolution, you start to understand that man has a lot more power and control than perhaps he realized or she realized. When I say man, I mean man as well as, male as well as female. So, if you stay on the path long enough, you understand that man is a lot more in control over his reality than he once presumed. And that is not his fault. The oldest and most popular psychology book and spiritual book ever written is the Bible. The Bible starts out saying, in the beginning there was the Word. So there's this sense that something's being called forth. We're also taught in ancient scripture that when man is born, a great sleep falls upon him. Now, I don't believe in religion. I don't believe in the version of God that man is created. And I'm even uncomfortable sometimes when I use the label God, because I understand that depending on a person's experience of God, which is based on their upbringing and their programming, their indoctrination, if the word God or the version of God was used against a child, then the adult that I am speaking to today who had that experience will have a natural aversion to the word God. So that using that word God makes me uncomfortable. And so when I say God, I mean creator. That could be source. That could be a master geneticist. That could be an infinite intelligence. I don't know. I don't know what God is. And I prefer to not use that label because of what I just described. And instead, I prefer to imagine that God is the creator of all that is. And like I said, that could be an energy, that could be a spirit, that could be a collective. I don't know. But I do believe that there is a creator. There is an intelligence. That I believe. And if you study the quantum world enough, it is absolutely, in my opinion, my humble opinion, impossible, highly improbable, that there is not some master genius behind the alignment of the stars and the planets, behind DNA, behind the aerodynamics of a hummingbird or a bumblebee. But to get to those types of awarenesses, man would have to move out of his ant-like, egocentric perception of himself. And that's where most people fall. But if you're listening to this audio, more than likely, you have the ability to go beyond the limits that have been placed upon you through childhood programming and various forms of indoctrination. And I wish to say namaste. And I'm so glad you are here. If we are to truly heal as human beings, then we have to be willing to understand that there is no such thing as separation. That in every moment we are experiencing our past, our present, and our future. That's a fact. Because we are very ego-centered until we wake up, we focus on the now. We focus on the drama. We focus on the argument we just had with our teenage daughter. We focus on the affair that our wife or our husband just had. We focus on the addiction that we are experiencing in the moment. We focus on the disease that we're trying to heal, we're trying to take care of. And very rarely do we stop and wonder why we are where we are today. We didn't wake up on Monday to discover our husband's affair. And well, we do. We wake up on a Monday, we discover an affair, excuse me, or we discover that we've been diagnosed with some terrible disease. And then we get all wrapped up in the emotions of that event. But if we were to stop and become mindful of what is happening in the now, we would understand, if we had the courage to look at it the right way, we would understand that this moment was a construct or has been constructed by our thoughts, our perceptions, the feelings in our body, and the images that have been impressed upon the subconscious mind. And so now is a reflection of the past. And so that's where our present moment intersects with the past. And now, most people, if we share this type of knowledge with them, they'll get it. But here's where a lot of people get a little fuzzy. We have to rise above that level of consciousness. We have to go higher. We have to think with even higher forms of cognition. We've got to get even higher in our brain functioning. We have to understand that when we discover that our husband has had an affair, or when we've discovered that our child is angry and acting out, and when we discover we have some terrible dis-ease in our body or disease in our body, we have to rise above the moment and understand that the choices, the feelings, and the perceptions that we are taking part in by default are also affecting and creating our future. Stick with me. Stick with me. There is no such thing as separation. No such thing. When we discover, for instance, that we have been the victim of spousal neglect, spousal abuse, spousal disrespect, and for instance, argument's sake, let's say we discover that our spouse has had an affair and has been lying to us for years. Maybe has even had a terrible double life that we knew nothing about. Plenty of my clients have experienced that. So let's just imagine for a moment that you are someone who's been married for 40 years, and you have just discovered that your husband or your wife has been living a double life. Lots of mistresses or boyfriends, various bank accounts you knew nothing about, signed your name to documents, forged your name to documents, and you wake up in this nightmare. Very easy to slip down the rabbit hole. Very emotional time. It's not easy to remember that emotions don't run in rational channels. They ricochet. They cause our body to go into a fight or flight response. Emotions that somebody in this situation would experience would cause their body to flood with adrenaline, norepinephrine. Their pupils would constrict. Their heart would beat rapidly. They would begin to sweat. They would feel like they have just fallen off of a cliff, literally. The body would react as if they were falling and plummeting 10,000 feet without a parachute. It's not easy to gain control over the wild horses those types of emotions can create in the human body and the mind. The first thing the mind wants to do is find something to hold on to, but it's impossible. Everything that you believed in is a lie. And now you're in an emotional abyss. Very difficult for somebody who is falling within themselves into the pit of desperation and despair. Very difficult. Very difficult for somebody to be able to slow down their breathing, to pull their focus off of the drama in the moment, and to take a bath, or to meditate, or to sit in the sun and focus on their heart chakra or their solar plexus and breathe. Just focus on your breathing. Just focus. 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 Very difficult. It can be done. It can be done. It's not easy to do it alone. It's much easier to do it with a support system or a guide that has been through it, that's for sure. That helps. But it can be done. It's not easy to be that person. It's not easy when after a year or so, the dust has settled pretty much, or 2 years or 3 years, however long it takes, to understand that being abused as a child by a narcissist, or being the adult child of an alcoholic, or being the child of a sexual predator, or being the child of a sex-addicted, codependent mother, and feeling abandoned, and feeling like you aren't worthy of your mother or your father's attention, or feeling like it's your fault they don't love you, they don't hug you, they don't talk to you, they don't even look at you. It's very hard when your life, your adult life, is cascading down this mountain. Very hard to understand that what happened in your past contributed to what happened now, or is happening now. Very hard to understand that. I think it's even harder to understand that how we react in those supreme moments of stress and duress is also building a construct or a framework for our future. Very hard. Some would say I'm blaming the victim. No, I'm not. I'm explaining the victim. I'm explaining the victim. I'm explaining the cause and effect nature of this indifferent universe we live in. We are not separate from the matrix that we are all plugged into as energetic beings with a nervous system that is electrical in nature. The planet is electrical in nature. There's no such thing as space. The space is filled with things of an electrical nature. No such thing as space. The brain works very much like a fiber optic network. Your nervous system, your heart, it's all electrical. The planet is electrical. And when you were born and given a physical suit, a physical vehicle, you are snapped into the electrical grid. Otherwise you would float off into space. Sounds woo-woo. Sounds very new age. But it's not. It's science. It's a fact. Our emotional set points, or our energetic set points, dictate our reality, construct our reality. Although we're asleep to that reality, that perception, until we wake up. Until that bing, bing, bing leads us to some deeper truth about ourselves and about the nature of the universe. To ascend and to evolve and to find peace, we must understand that there's no such thing as separation, not from our past, not from our now experience, not from our future. Everything is one. Your past, your now, and your future is one. The really cool thing is, if you're somebody that can stick with this type of knowledge, and you can integrate it, then you can apply it. And that's when life gets to be fun. It's a big responsibility to be awakened. Huge responsibility. Not for the lighthearted. Not at all. When you become awakened, you assume responsibility for your future and your now. You don't assume responsibility for the past because you were a victim. You were a child. It's not your fault that your parents abused you and set you up to attract abusers. That's not your fault. Not your fault. Maya Angelou teaches that when you know better, you do better. So, when this realization hits you, it's your job to do better. And when you do better, Your children do better. And your children's children do better. When you do better, everything around you, the field that you walk in, benefits. Everything, the world benefits when you learn to apply this information. Because if you rise above your old patterns high enough, you'll understand that the creative force is divine love, is perfect love. Love of all that is. Unconditional acceptance and understanding of all that is. Understanding that it's not your fault you were asleep, it's not your fault that many others are asleep. It's just the nature of the universe. You understand that all human beings have the potential to awaken. But only they can incrementally shift towards or seek information such as this. You can't make somebody want. And without wanting, there's no desire. And with no desire, there is no energetic movement or inertia towards greater understandings. You're not responsible for that. And it wouldn't even be cool to be able to do that for somebody. It wouldn't even be cool. Because what makes life so amazing, what makes this journey that you're on, and that I'm on, so cool, is that we get to discover this for the self. We learn that Creator has sown into us the potential to resurrect ourselves, to rise up out of the tomb that is the subconscious mind and become born again of a new mind. We can walk in peace and harmony even when things are chaotic around us. We can do that. And I realize that a lot of the metaphors that I use sound religious. I don't mean to sound religious. I'm not religious. But I cannot help but call upon the stories that I have heard in my life, being raised as a Roman Catholic. I can't separate my new understandings from what I believe was abused in my religion. And there's the evil of separation again. I'm not separate from God, and neither are you. I'm not separate from Creator, neither are you. I'm not separate from Source, the infinite intelligence. I'm not separate from my planet. I'm a part of my planet, and so are you, energetically. I'm not separate from you. If we all came from the same place, I'm not separate from you. Whoever created the oceans created you, created me. There's no such thing as separation, dear one. First, we heal the separation in self. First, we heal this idea that we are separate and unworthy. We merge with the divine inner child. We merge with the divine higher self. We integrate mind, body, and soul first. That's where we begin. We understand the pains of the past. We understand the victim. We explain the victim that we have been from an objective and aware place. We unconditionally love and accept that we have been victims We don't have to like it. But when we understand that we have been a victim, then we develop empathy for the self. Once we integrate within the self, then we can move out into our experiences, our external relationships, and then we can even move beyond that and understand our place in the universe. So this podcast has been created to help you understand that what hurts humanity is the idea of separation. What will heal humanity is rising above the consciousness of separation. That will heal you on a personal level. That will help you integrate your past. And really, really, what's really cool is it will also help you learn how to command and create your future. Namaste, dear ones. I truly hope that you have appreciated this podcast, and I hope that you share it, and I hope that you consider perhaps one day joining me and allowing me the humble pleasure of being your guide as I walk you through the process of integration through one of my programs. The first step, if anyone is interested, I believe would probably be the 12-week breakthrough coaching program. And I say breakthrough because we need to break through these veils of illusion. And that first program that I created will definitely help you do that. And then there are other programs that will help you rise above the illusions of separation even further for the purpose of your own soulful journey and integration of mind, body, and soul or energy being. You can reach me at https://www.lisaaromano.com. And you can also find me on Facebook and Instagram, Lisa A. Romano. Namaste, dear ones. I bow to the love and the light that is in you.